The rain hammered against the windows of Tony's diner like angry fists demanding entry. Emily Carter wiped down the counter for the third time that hour, her dark brown eyes scanning the nearly empty restaurant. It was 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, the kind of night when most people had the good sense to stay home. But not her. She needed every shift she could get. Her hands moved on autopilot, clearing plates, refilling coffee cups, smiling at the few customers who braved the storm. The diner smelled like grease and old coffee, a scent that had soaked into her uniform over the past 3 years. Emily didn't mind. This job, combined with her morning shift at the grocery store, kept her sister Aisha in community college. That was all that mattered. The bell above the door chimed. Emily looked up, recognizing the tall man who stepped inside. Dominic Romano. He came in twice a week, always ordered the same thing, black coffee and whatever pie they had left. Always tipped well. Always polite. He had deep brown skin, close-cropped hair starting to gray at the temples, and wore expensive suits that seemed out of place in the worn-down diner. "Evening, Mr. Romano," Emily called out, grabbing the coffee pot. "Emily." He nodded, shaking rain from his dark blue jacket as he slid into his usual booth by the window. "Rough night out there." "Sure is." She poured his coffee, set down a slice of apple pie without asking. "You're out late." Business meeting ran long. He loosened his tie, looking tired. "Sometimes I just need a quiet place to think." Emily understood that. Tony's diner was perfect for thinking. No loud music, no crowds, just the hum of the old refrigerator and the occasional clatter from the kitchen. She left him alone, knowing he preferred it that way. She was refilling the napkin dispensers when she noticed them. 2 men standing across the street under the broken streetlight. They weren't moving. Just standing there in the rain, staring at the diner. At Romano. Emily's stomach tightened. She had grown up in this neighborhood. She knew the difference between people waiting for a bus and people waiting for something else. These men were the second kind. One of them was white with a shaved head, wearing a black leather jacket. The other was Hispanic with a dark hoodie pulled low over his face. Both had their hands in their pockets. Both kept their eyes locked on Romano through the window. Emily's heart started pounding. She glanced at Romano. He was reading something on his phone, completely unaware. The men across the street shifted, and the one in the leather jacket touched his ear. Like he was wearing an earpiece. Like he was getting instructions. This was wrong. Every instinct Emily had developed growing up in rough neighborhoods screamed at her. These men meant trouble. Bad trouble. She grabbed a fresh pot of coffee and walked to Romano's table, her mind racing. How could she warn him without causing a scene? If she was wrong, she would look like a paranoid fool. If she was right and did nothing, something terrible might happen. Romano looked up as she approached. "I'm still good on coffee, Emily." She leaned down, pretending to wipe the table. Her voice came out low and urgent. "Don't go outside. They're waiting." Romano's expression didn't change, but his eyes sharpened. "What?" "2 men across the street. They've been watching you for 5 minutes. Something's wrong." Emily kept her voice steady, her hands still moving the cloth across the table. "I grew up here. I know what danger looks like." Romano slowly set down his phone. He didn't turn to look at the window. Instead, he studied Emily's face. "You're certain?" "Yes." Emily's voice was firm. One just touched his ear. "Earpiece. They're coordinating with someone." For a long moment, Romano said nothing. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. "Marcus, I need you at Tony's diner on Fletcher Street." "No." 2 hostiles outside. He paused, listening. "No, I'm secure inside." 5 minutes. He ended the call and looked at Emily. "Thank you. You might have just saved my life." Emily's hands trembled slightly as she straightened up. "Who are you really?" "Someone who makes enemies." Romano's voice was quiet. "And someone who won't forget this kindness." Through the window, Emily watched the 2 men react. The one in the leather jacket pressed his earpiece again, clearly receiving new instructions. They both turned and walked quickly down the street, disappearing into the rain. 3 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up outside the diner. 2 men in suits got out and swept the area before one of them entered. He walked straight to Romano's booth. "All clear, sir. They're gone. We'll track them." Romano nodded. "Thank you, Marcus." He turned to Emily. "Can you sit for a moment?" Emily glanced at her boss, Tony, who was watching from the kitchen with wide eyes. He nodded. She slid into the booth across from Romano, her heart still racing. "I need to know exactly what you saw," Romano said. "Every detail." Emily took a breath and described the men, their positions, their behavior, the earpiece. Romano listened intently, occasionally asking questions. When she finished, he sat back, his expression grave. "You have good instincts," he said finally. "Better than most trained security personnel. Those men were professionals. If I'd walked out of here alone, I wouldn't have made it to my car." The weight of that statement settled over Emily. She had actually saved someone's life tonight. The realization made her dizzy. "Who would want to hurt you?" she asked. "I run a large shipping and logistics company," Romano said. "We handle valuable cargo. There are people who would benefit from my absence." He paused. "But this felt coordinated. Professional. Someone inside my organization might have set this up." Emily thought about that. "You think someone you trust betrayed you?" "It's the only explanation that makes sense." Romano pulled out his wallet and placed several $100 bills on the table. "For your trouble. And your discretion." Emily looked at the money. It was more than she made in a week. Her first instinct was to refuse, to say she was just doing the right thing. But she thought of Aisha's tuition bill sitting on her kitchen table. She thought of the electric company's final notice. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford. "Thank you," she said simply, taking the money. "I appreciate it." Romano smiled for the first time that night. "You didn't hesitate. Most people would have refused out of false modesty. You're practical. I respect that." He stood, buttoning his jacket. "I'll have my security team escort me home. But Emily, I want you to be careful. If someone was watching me, they might have noticed you warning me." Fear flickered through Emily's chest. "You think they'll come after me?" "I don't know. But I'm going to make sure you're protected." Romano handed her a business card. "This is my personal number. If anything unusual happens, anything at all, you call me immediately. Day or night." Emily took the card, reading the embossed letters. Dominic Romano, CEO, Romano Logistics International. She had been serving coffee to a CEO. A powerful one from the looks of it. "I will," she promised. Romano paused at the door, looking back at her. "You did something brave tonight, Emily. Not many people would have gotten involved. You have a rare quality, you see what others miss and you act on it. That's valuable." Then he was gone, climbing into the SUV with his security team. Emily watched the vehicle disappear into the rain, her mind spinning. Tony emerged from the kitchen, his weathered face worried. "You okay, kid?" "Yeah." Emily looked down at the money in her hand. "Yeah, I think I am." But as she finished her shift and walked to the bus stop an hour later, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just changed in ways she couldn't yet understand. She had stepped into something bigger than herself tonight. The question was, what happened next? The rain had slowed to a drizzle. Emily stood under the shelter, watching cars pass. Every dark sedan made her nervous. Every person walking by made her look twice. She pulled out Romano's business card, running her thumb over the raised letters. CEO. Someone important. Someone who said she had value. Emily had spent her whole life being invisible. The waitress people didn't really see. The checkout girl they didn't remember. The woman on the bus they looked right through. But tonight someone had seen her. Really seen her. And somehow she knew this was only the beginning. If you're wondering what happens next, if Emily's act of courage will lead her into more danger or open doors she never imagined, subscribe and let me know in the comments what you think Emily should do next. Should she trust Romano completely or stay cautious? The next morning, Emily dragged herself to the grocery store at 6 a.m., running on 3 hours of sleep. Her mind kept replaying the previous night. The men in the rain. Romano's calm response. The money now hidden in her sock drawer. She was stocking shelves in aisle 7 when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hello? Emily Carter?" A woman's professional voice. "Please hold for Mr. Romano." Before Emily could respond, Romano's deep voice came through. "Emily, good morning. I hope I'm not calling too early." "I'm at work," Emily said, glancing around to make sure her supervisor wasn't nearby. "Is everything okay?" "More than okay. I wanted to update you. My security team tracked the 2 men from last night. They were hired muscle, paid to wait for me. We're working on finding who hired them." He paused. "But that's not why I'm calling. I have a proposition for you." Emily's heart skipped. "A proposition? I need someone I can trust. Someone observant, intelligent, and brave enough to act when it matters. Someone who sees what others miss." Romano's voice was serious. "I'd like to offer you a position as my personal assistant." Emily nearly dropped the can of soup she was holding. "What?" "The pay is $90,000 a year to start, plus benefits and housing on my estate. Your job would be to help me investigate the security breach in my company while handling my daily schedule and correspondence." I need someone outside my usual circle, someone without connections to the people who might have betrayed me. $90,000. Emily made $22,000 working 2 jobs. The number was so large it didn't seem real. Mr. Romano, I don't have experience as an assistant. I barely graduated high school. I don't know anything about logistics or business or... You have something more valuable than formal education, Romano interrupted. You have instinct, courage, and integrity. Those can't be taught. The rest I can teach you. His voice softened. Emily, I'm offering you an opportunity to change your life. To use your natural abilities for something bigger than serving coffee. But only if you want it. Emily's mind raced. This was insane. CEOs didn't hire waitresses as personal assistants. This kind of thing didn't happen to people like her. But Romano's voice was genuine. He wasn't mocking her or playing some cruel game. What about my sister? Emily asked. I support her. She's in college. I'm aware. I had my team do a background check this morning. I hope you don't mind. Before Emily could respond, he continued. Your sister Aisha is studying nursing at the community college. Excellent grades. If you accept this position, I'll cover her remaining tuition and transfer her to a 4-year university if she chooses. Consider it part of your benefits package. Tears stung Emily's eyes. Aisha's tuition. The constant weight of those bills lifted. Just like that. Why are you doing this? Emily whispered. Because you saved my life and I believe in repaying debts. Because I need someone I can trust in a situation where trust is scarce. And because I see potential in you that you haven't seen in yourself yet. Romano's tone was matter-of-fact. This isn't charity, Emily. I'm offering you a job because I believe you'll be excellent at it. But the choice is yours. Emily thought of Tony's diner. Of the grocery store. Of her tiny apartment with the leaking ceiling. Of Aisha working nights at the campus library because financial aid didn't cover books. Of 3 more years of this grinding exhaustion. Then she thought of Romano's words. You see what others miss. You have a rare quality. Maybe he was right. Maybe she did have something valuable. Maybe this was her chance to prove it. I accept, Emily said, her voice stronger than she felt. Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Romano. I won't let you down. I know you won't. And call me Dominic. She could hear the smile in his voice. Can you start Monday? That gives you 3 days to give notice at your current jobs and pack. I'll have someone pick you up Monday morning at 8. Monday works. Emily's hands were shaking. Dominic, I really appreciate this. More than I can say. You earned it, Emily. See you Monday. The call ended. Emily stood in the middle of aisle 7, holding a can of tomato soup, her entire life transformed in a 5-minute phone call. Her supervisor, Greg, appeared at the end of the aisle. Carter, those shelves aren't going to stock themselves. Emily smiled. Actually, Greg, I need to give my notice. Today's my last day. The next 3 days passed in a blur. Emily gave notice at both jobs, packed her modest belongings and told Aisha the news. Her sister cried, hugged her and made Emily promise to be careful. This sounds too good to be true, Aisha said, worry creasing her forehead. What if this guy is dangerous? He's not, Emily said with certainty. I trust him, Aisha. He gave me a chance when no one else would. And he's paying for your school. That's not something a bad person does. Monday morning arrived cold and clear. At precisely 8 a.m., a silver sedan pulled up outside Emily's apartment building. The driver, a professional woman in her 40s, introduced herself as Rachel from Romano's household staff. Mr. Romano is looking forward to working with you, Rachel said as they drove through the city. We all are. It's not often he brings someone new into his inner circle. They left the city behind, driving into an area of large estates and manicured lawns. Finally, they turned through iron gates onto a long driveway lined with trees. The main house came into view, a beautiful modern structure of glass and stone, 3 stories tall, surrounded by gardens. But Rachel drove past the main house to a smaller building set back among the trees. This is the guest house, she explained. Mr. Romano thought you'd prefer your own space rather than a room in the main house. 2 bedrooms, full kitchen, private. All utilities included. Emily stared at the guest house. It was bigger than any place she had ever lived. Large windows, a small porch, flower boxes that would be beautiful in spring. It's mine? She asked weakly. All yours. Rachel handed her a key. Get settled. Mr. Romano will meet you at the main house at 10 for orientation. There's a map and schedule in the welcome folder on your kitchen counter. Emily walked into the guest house in a daze. Hardwood floors. Modern furniture in shades of blue and cream. A kitchen with actual counter space. A bedroom with a view of the gardens. A second bedroom she could use as an office, or for when Aisha visited. She sat on the couch and let herself feel the magnitude of what was happening. 4 days ago she was a waitress working 2 jobs. Now she lived on an estate about to work for a CEO, with her sister's education paid for. All because she had trusted her instincts and spoken up. At 10 o'clock, Emily walked to the main house, following the stone path through the gardens. Dominic met her at the door, dressed casually in dark jeans and a green button-down shirt. He smiled warmly. "Emily, welcome. Come in." The house was even more impressive inside. High ceilings, art on the walls, floor-to-ceiling windows that let in floods of light. But it didn't feel cold or impersonal. There were books scattered on tables, photos on shelves, a lived-in warmth that surprised her. Dominic led her to a spacious office. "This will be your workspace when you're in the main house. Computer, phone, files you'll need. Rachel will train you on the scheduling systems and daily routines." He gestured for her to sit in one of the comfortable chairs by the window. He took the other, not sitting behind his desk like a boss, but across from her like an equal. "Before we begin the formal orientation, I want to explain the real situation," Dominic said. "Someone in my organization is stealing from me. Large shipments are going missing. Documents are being forged. Money is disappearing from accounts. My internal security team has found nothing. My accountants have found nothing. Whoever is doing this is smart and has access to high-level information." Emily leaned forward, listening intently. "I need someone outside my usual circle to help me investigate. Someone these people don't know about, won't suspect." Dominic's dark eyes held hers. "You have a gift for observation, Emily. You notice details. I need you to use that gift. Help me find who's betraying me." "Like an undercover investigator?" Emily asked. "Exactly. You'll learn my business, meet my staff, attend meetings, and you'll watch. Listen. Notice the things others miss, just like you did that night at the diner." He paused. "It might be dangerous. If the person behind this realizes what you're doing, they could react badly. I need you to understand the risk before you fully commit." Emily thought about the 2 men in the rain. About the professional way they had watched Dominic. About how close he had come to walking into a trap. "Someone tried to kill you," she said quietly. "If I can help stop whoever is behind that, I want to. You gave me this opportunity. The least I can do is help protect you." Dominic smiled, something like respect in his expression. "Then we're partners in this. I'll teach you the business. You'll learn everything about my company, my operations, my staff. And together we'll find the truth." He extended his hand. Emily shook it, feeling the calluses on his palm. A man who had worked his way up, she realized. Not someone born to wealth, but someone who had earned it. "Thank you for accepting this without hesitation," Dominic said. "A lot of people would have questioned my motives or refused out of fear. Your willingness to trust and move forward, that shows character. You're offering me a chance at a better life," Emily said honestly. "I'd be a fool to refuse. And I don't think you're the kind of man who would hurt someone who helped him." "You're right. I'm not." Dominic stood. "Come on. Let me introduce you to the staff and show you around. Your new life starts now." As Emily followed him through the house, meeting Rachel, the housekeeper Maria, the chef Antoine, and the gardener James, she felt a sense of rightness settle over her. This was where she was supposed to be. This opportunity, as unlikely as it seemed, was meant for her. She had taken a risk warning Dominic that night. Now he was taking a risk on her. And she would prove his faith was not misplaced. Whatever danger lay ahead, whatever conspiracy she needed to help unravel, Emily was ready. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was exactly where she belonged. Emily's first week at Romano Logistics International was overwhelming. Dominic kept his promise to teach her everything. She shadowed him through meetings, learning the language of shipping manifests, customs documentation, and supply chain logistics. At night, she studied business basics on her laptop in the guest house, determined not to look foolish. Rachel proved to be an excellent mentor, patient with Emily's questions about scheduling, correspondence, and the subtle politics of corporate communication. By Friday, Emily could manage Dominic's calendar, field calls from clients, and navigate the company's computer systems with growing confidence. But she never forgot her real purpose: to observe, to notice, to find the cracks where betrayal might be hiding. On Monday of her second week, Dominic asked her to organize his file room. "Everything's a mess in there," he explained. "Years of paperwork, old contracts, archived records. I need it sorted and digitized. It'll take time, but it'll also give you a comprehensive view of the company's history and operations. Emily suspected there was another reason. The file room would give her access to documents that might contain clues. She dove into the project with enthusiasm. The file room was exactly as Dominic described. Boxes stacked on metal shelves, filing cabinets stuffed with folders, loose papers scattered on every surface. Emily started systematically, creating a cataloging system and working through each box methodically. 3 days into the project, she found the first discrepancy. A shipping manifest from 8 months ago, documenting a delivery of electronics to a warehouse in Newark. The manifest showed the shipment arriving and being logged into inventory. But when Emily cross-referenced it with the inventory reports from the same period, those electronics never appeared in the system. She made a note and kept digging. 2 hours later, she found another one. Then another. Always electronics. Always the same warehouse. Always disappearing from the records after the initial manifest. Emily's heart raced. This was it. This was the pattern Dominic's team had missed because they were looking at current operations, not historical records. She gathered the relevant documents and went to find Dominic. He was in his office on a video call. Through the glass wall, she saw him notice her waiting. He wrapped up the call quickly and waved her in. "You found something," he said immediately, reading her expression. Emily laid the documents on his desk. "Look at these shipping manifests from 8 months ago. Electronics arriving at the Newark warehouse. But when I checked the inventory reports from the same dates, those items never got logged into the system." Dominic studied the papers, his expression growing darker. He pulled up files on his computer, cross-referencing. "You're right. The manifests show delivery, but the inventory system shows nothing. That means someone accepted the shipments, signed for them, but never entered them into our tracking system. And then sold them somewhere else," Emily finished. "Keeping the money." "Exactly." Dominic sat back, his jaw tight. "The Newark warehouse. That's Trevor Banks' facility. He's been my warehouse manager there for 6 years. I trusted him completely." Emily heard the pain in his voice. Betrayal from a trusted employee hurt worse than theft from a stranger. "We need more evidence before we confront him," Emily said carefully. "If we accuse him now, he could destroy records or disappear. Can I keep digging? See how far back this goes and how much was stolen?" Dominic nodded slowly. "Yes. Document everything. Dates, amounts, patterns. Build an airtight case." He looked at her with something like wonder. "Emily, my internal auditors went through these records. My security team reviewed everything. How did you find this when they didn't?" Emily considered the question. "They were looking at the current systems, checking for active anomalies. I was organizing historical files, seeing the physical paper trail alongside the digital records. Sometimes you need distance to see the pattern." She paused. "And maybe I have a different perspective. I've worked inventory at the grocery store. I know how easy it is to make things disappear if you control both the receiving dock and the database entry." "Your experience matters," Dominic said. "The things you've learned in your jobs, the skills you developed. They're valuable, Emily. Don't ever think otherwise." Over the next week, Emily built a comprehensive timeline of the thefts. She discovered that the pattern went back 18 months, with increasing frequency and larger amounts. Conservatively, Trevor Banks had stolen over $2 million in merchandise. She also found something else: forged signatures on inspection reports. Documents claiming quality checks had been performed by supervisors who, according to the staff schedules, weren't even working those days. "He had help," Emily told Dominic, showing him the forged documents. "At least one other person, maybe more. Someone who could forge supervisor signatures and create false inspection reports." Dominic studied the evidence with a grim expression. "This is more sophisticated than I thought. A whole operation." They were in his office late on a Thursday evening. Maria had already left dinner in the kitchen. The rest of the staff had gone home. Outside the windows, twilight painted the gardens purple and gold. "What do we do now?" Emily asked. "We need someone on the inside at that warehouse," Dominic said. "Someone who can observe the operation firsthand, see who Trevor is working with, and catch them in the act." He looked at Emily. She understood before he said it. "You want me to go undercover?" she said. "Only if you're willing. It could be dangerous if they suspect anything." Dominic's voice was serious. "But you're the only person I trust completely right now. And you have the skills to pull it off. You know how warehouses work. You can blend in." Emily thought about it. The smart thing would be to refuse, to stay safe in her comfortable position here. But smart wasn't always right. Dominic had given her everything. The least she could do was help him stop the people stealing from him. "I'll do it," she said. "What's the plan?" Relief and concern warred on Dominic's face. "Are you sure?" "I don't want to pressure you." "I'm sure. You trusted me with this opportunity. I want to prove I deserve it." Emily met his eyes. "How do we make this work?" Over the next hour they developed a plan. Emily would be hired as a temporary inventory clerk at the Newark warehouse under a different last name, Emily Davis. Her background would show previous warehouse experience. She would work the evening shift, when Trevor typically conducted his off-books operations, based on the pattern Emily had identified. "I'll have a security team nearby at all times," Dominic insisted. "If anything feels wrong, you call them immediately. Your safety comes first." "I can handle it," Emily said with more confidence than she felt. "I grew up in rough neighborhoods, remember? I know how to stay alert and keep my head down." Dominic's expression softened. "You're remarkable, Emily. You know that." The compliment made her cheeks warm. "I'm just doing my job." "No, you're doing far more than your job. You're putting yourself at risk for me." He stood, walking to the window. "I won't forget that. Whatever happens, I want you to know your loyalty means everything." Emily joined him at the window, looking out at the gardens. "You gave me a chance when no one else would. You saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. That kind of faith deserves loyalty." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Dominic turned to her. "Before you start at the warehouse, let's make sure you're prepared. Tomorrow, I want you to meet with my head of security. He'll brief you on surveillance techniques, personal safety, and how to document evidence without being obvious." "Okay." Emily's stomach fluttered with nerves and excitement. "When do I start?" "Monday. That gives us 3 days to prepare." Dominic's hand briefly touched her shoulder. "Thank you, Emily. For everything." The next 3 days were intense. Dominic's head of security, a former police detective named Frank Morrison, taught Emily how to use a hidden camera built into a pen, how to take photos discreetly with her phone, and how to record conversations without being detected. He drilled her on warehouse safety, emergency exits, and how to handle confrontational situations. "Your instincts are good," Frank told her. "Trust them. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't be a hero. Gather evidence and get out." Emily also spent time memorizing the warehouse layout from blueprints and studying the employee roster. She learned who worked which shifts, who had been there longest, who had access to different areas. Knowledge was protection. Sunday evening, Dominic invited her to dinner at the main house. Antoine prepared Emily's favorite, grilled chicken with roasted vegetables and a side salad. They ate in the informal dining room, the conversation easy and ranging from books they had read to childhood memories. "I grew up in Philadelphia," Dominic told her. "South Side, working-class neighborhood. My father drove a delivery truck. My mother cleaned houses. They worked themselves to exhaustion to put me through community college." "How did you end up here?" Emily asked, gesturing at the elegant room around them. "I started as a warehouse worker at a logistics company. Worked my way up to dispatcher, then operations manager. Eventually, I saved enough to start my own small shipping business. That grew into Romano Logistics." He smiled. 20 years of 16-hour days, smart decisions, and some luck. "That's inspiring," Emily said. "You built all this from nothing." "Not nothing. I had my parents' example. Their work ethic. Their integrity." Dominic's voice grew quiet. "They died in a car accident 10 years ago. Never got to see me really succeed. That's my biggest regret." Emily reached across the table, touching his hand briefly. "They knew you would succeed. Parents always know." Dominic's eyes held gratitude. "Thank you for that." After dinner, they walked through the gardens as the sun set. The spring air smelled like fresh earth and blooming flowers. "Tomorrow everything changes," Dominic said. "You'll be in potential danger. I need you to promise me something." "What?" "Promise that if you feel unsafe at any point, you'll walk away. The evidence doesn't matter if something happens to you." His voice was fierce. "Do you understand?" "I understand," Emily said. "And I promise to be careful. But Dominic, I also promise to see this through. We're going to find who betrayed you and make it right." He stopped walking, turning to face her. In the fading light, his expression was intense. "I'm glad you came into my life, Emily Carter. That night at the diner when you warned me, you changed everything." "You changed my life too," Emily said softly. "You saw me. Really saw me. That's a gift I'll never forget." For a moment, they stood close in the gathering darkness, something unspoken passing between them. Then Dominic stepped back, breaking the spell. "Get some rest," he said. "Tomorrow's a big day." Emily walked back to the guest house, her heart beating faster than usual. She was about to step into danger, to test herself in ways she never had before. But she wasn't afraid. She was ready. She had spent her whole life in the background, invisible and overlooked. Now she had a chance to prove she was more than that. To show Dominic and herself what she was capable of. Whatever happened at the Newark warehouse, Emily would face it with courage, intelligence, and the determination to uncover the truth. Because that's what Dominic deserved. And that's who she was becoming. Someone who didn't run from challenges but met them head-on. The woman she had been at Tony's diner was gone. The woman she was becoming was stronger, braver, and ready for anything. Monday morning, Emily dressed in jeans, work boots, and a plain red t-shirt, the standard uniform for warehouse workers. She pulled her hair into a simple ponytail and put on minimal makeup. The goal was to blend in, to be forgettable. Frank Morrison drove her to the Newark warehouse in an unmarked car. "Remember, the security team will be parked 2 blocks away. You have the panic button on your phone. One press and we're there in 60 seconds. "I remember," Emily said, checking the hidden camera pen in her shirt pocket one more time. The warehouse was a sprawling concrete building in an industrial area surrounded by similar facilities. Inside, the space was massive. Rows of tall shelving units, forklifts moving between aisles, workers scanning boxes and updating inventory on handheld devices. Emily reported to the shift supervisor, a tired-looking woman named Rita who barely glanced at her paperwork. "You've done warehouse work before?" Rita asked. "Yes, ma'am. 3 years at a grocery distribution center." "Good. You'll be on receiving. Check shipments against manifests, log everything into the system, report discrepancies." Simple enough. Rita handed her a handheld scanner. "Your station is Dock 7. Trevor Banks is the warehouse manager. If you have any issues, find him." Emily's pulse quickened at Trevor's name, but she kept her expression neutral. "Understood. Thank you." Dock 7 was busy. Trucks arrived every 30 minutes, delivering everything from computer components to industrial supplies. Emily fell into the rhythm of the work easily. Check the manifest, count the items, scan the barcodes, confirm in the system. It felt familiar. Comfortable. She had done this type of work before, just in a different setting. The other workers accepted her presence without question. She was just another temporary employee filling a shift. Trevor Banks appeared around 3 p.m. He was a white man in his early 40s, average height, with thinning brown hair and a practiced smile. He walked through the warehouse like he owned it, checking in with various workers. When he reached Emily's station, he extended his hand. "You must be Emily Davis, our new temp. Welcome aboard." "Thank you, Mr. Banks." Emily shook his hand, noting the expensive watch on his wrist. "Too expensive for a warehouse manager's salary. Call me Trevor. We're casual here." His eyes scanned her station. "How's it going so far?" "Good." Rita explained everything clearly. "Excellent. Let me know if you need anything." He moved on, stopping to joke with another worker. Emily watched him from the corner of her eye as she worked. He seemed perfectly normal. Professional, friendly, competent. Nothing about him screamed criminal. But Emily knew better than to trust surface appearances. The afternoon shift progressed without incident. Emily logged every shipment carefully, looking for signs of the theft pattern she had identified in the records. But everything seemed legitimate. Every box accounted for, every scan matching the manifests. At 6 p.m., the day shift left and the evening crew arrived. The warehouse got quieter, fewer workers, less supervision. Emily noticed Trevor stayed late most evenings, according to what she had learned. Tonight was no exception. Around 8 p.m., a truck arrived at Dock 12, the one furthest from the main office. Emily watched Trevor personally oversee the unloading, which was unusual. Managers typically didn't handle individual shipments. She moved casually in that direction, pretending to return equipment to a storage area nearby. From her new position, she could see the truck clearly. It had no company logo, just a plain white exterior. Also unusual. Most delivery trucks had their company branding. Trevor directed 2 workers, both men Emily didn't recognize from the regular crew, to unload boxes marked as computer equipment. They worked quickly, efficiently, not logging anything into the system. They simply moved the boxes to a corner of the warehouse marked as Quality Control Hold, an area Emily had learned was used for items pending inspection. Her hidden camera pen was recording. She made a mental note of the truck's license plate, the time, and the approximate number of boxes. After the truck left, Trevor approached the two workers. Emily couldn't hear their conversation, but she saw him hand each of them an envelope. Cash payment, she guessed. For off-the-books work. The two men left through a side exit. Trevor made some notes on a clipboard, then returned to his office. Emily's heart raced. She had just witnessed part of the operation. But she needed more. She needed to see where those boxes went, who else was involved, and how they moved the stolen goods out of the warehouse. Over the next 3 nights, Emily observed the pattern repeat. Unmarked trucks arrived at Dock 12 between 8 and 9 p.m. Trevor personally supervised the unloading. Different workers each time, none of them regular employees. Boxes moved to quality control hold, and never logged into the system. On Thursday night, Emily decided to take a risk. After her shift ended at 10 p.m., she lingered in the break room, pretending to finish paperwork. Most workers left quickly, eager to get home. By 10:30, the warehouse was nearly empty except for the night security guard who patrolled the perimeter. Emily waited until she heard the security guard's footsteps fade toward the far side of the building. Then she slipped out of the break room and made her way to the quality control hold area. The boxes from earlier that evening were still there, stacked neatly. Emily used her phone to photograph the labels, the identifying numbers, everything. Then she carefully opened one box. Inside, laptop computers. Brand new, still in manufacturer packaging. Emily photographed the contents, noting the model numbers and serial codes. These were expensive machines, easily worth several $1,000s each. She closed the box carefully, making sure it looked undisturbed. Then she moved to check the next box. Working late, Emily? She spun around. Trevor stood 10 feet away, his expression unreadable. Emily's mind raced. She forced herself to stay calm. I left my water bottle at my station. Came back to get it. She held up her empty hands. But I can't find it in this huge place. Trevor studied her for a long moment. Your station is on the other side of the warehouse. Why are you over here? I got turned around, Emily said with an embarrassed laugh. These aisles all look the same in the dark. I'm still learning the layout. The exits are clearly marked. Trevor's voice was colder now. And you've been here almost a week. You should know the basic layout by now. Emily's heart pounded, but she kept her expression confused and apologetic. You're right, I should. I'm sorry for wandering around. I'll just head out. She started to walk past him, but Trevor moved to block her path. Actually, let's talk in my office for a minute. I have some questions about your work this week. This was bad. Emily touched her phone in her pocket, feeling for the panic button. But if she pressed it now in front of Trevor, he would know something was wrong. Sure, she said, trying to sound casual. Is there a problem with my productivity? Let's discuss it privately. Trevor gestured toward his office. Emily followed, her mind racing through options. The security team was 2 blocks away. If she could get Trevor talking, maybe she could find a way to signal for help without being obvious. Trevor's office was on the 2nd floor, overlooking the warehouse floor. He closed the door behind them and gestured for Emily to sit. Instead of going behind his desk, he leaned against it, looking down at her. So, Emily Davis, he said slowly. Tell me about your previous warehouse experience. Emily recited the cover story Frank had prepared. I worked at a grocery distribution center in Pennsylvania for 3 years. Receiving and inventory. Which company? Eastern Food Distributors. Trevor pulled out his phone and typed something. Emily's stomach dropped. He was checking her story. But Frank had assured her the cover was solid, with phone numbers and records that would verify her employment if anyone called. After a moment, Trevor put his phone away. And you moved to New Jersey recently? Yes. Family reasons. What kind of family reasons? Emily met his eyes. My sister's sick. I moved here to be closer to her. It was a detail from her real life, Aisha's childhood asthma that sometimes still flared up. Sometimes the best lies were built on truth. Trevor's expression softened slightly. I'm sorry to hear that. Family's important. It is, Emily agreed. That's why I need this job. Medical bills are expensive. They sat in tense silence for a moment. Then Trevor said, Here's the thing, Emily. I like to know my workers. Especially the good ones. And you've been very good this week. Efficient, accurate, no complaints. Thank you. But I also noticed things. Like how you've been watching me. Trevor's voice hardened. Observing where I go, what I do. That's interesting behavior for a temp worker. Emily forced a laugh. I watch everyone. It's how I learn. I watch Rita to learn the procedures. I watch the forklift operators to stay out of their way. I watch you because you're the manager. It's just being smart about the job. Maybe. Trevor didn't look convinced. Or maybe you're more than just a temp worker. This was spiraling. Emily needed to de-escalate before things got dangerous. She stood, putting frustration in her voice. Look, Trevor, if you have a problem with my work, just say so. Otherwise, I've had a long day and I'd like to go home. Trevor stood too, blocking the door. I don't think you're going anywhere just yet. Not until I figure out who you really are. Emily's hand went to her pocket, finding her phone. But before she could press the panic button, Trevor's own phone rang. He glanced at the screen, frowned, and answered. What? Now? He listened, his expression darkening. Fine. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He ended the call and looked at Emily with clear suspicion. This conversation isn't over. But I have an emergency to deal with. Go home, Emily Davis. And tomorrow we'll have a longer talk about your real reasons for being here. He opened the door, waiting for her to leave. Emily walked past him, feeling his eyes boring into her back. She made herself walk normally through the warehouse, out to the parking lot, to her car. Only when she was safely inside with the doors locked did she let herself shake. That had been close. Too close. She pulled out her phone and called Frank. I'm compromised. Trevor's suspicious. I need extraction. Already on it. We saw you go into his office on the security cameras. Follow the route we planned. We'll intercept you. Emily drove to the designated meeting point, a gas station 3 blocks from the warehouse. Frank's car was waiting. She got in and he drove away immediately. What happened? He asked. Emily explained the entire encounter. Frank listened grimly. He's definitely running the operation, Emily concluded. I saw the whole thing. Unmarked trucks, off-books workers, cash payments. And I got photos of the stolen laptops. Good work, Frank said. But you're right. He's suspicious now. We need to pull you out before he figures out who you really are. They drove back to the estate. Dominic was waiting in his office, pacing. When Emily walked in, relief flooded his face. You're safe, he said, pulling her into a brief, tight hug before stepping back. Frank called. Said there was an incident. Emily explained everything again. Dominic listened, his expression growing darker. I should never have sent you in there, he said when she finished. If something had happened to you. But it didn't, Emily interrupted. And we got what we needed. I have photos of the stolen merchandise, the truck's license plate, evidence of the cash payments. We can take this to the police now. Not yet, Dominic said. Trevor's one person. There has to be someone higher up, someone coordinating this. Someone who knows my business well enough to identify the best items to steal, the best times to move them. He looked at Emily. Did you see anyone else there? Anyone who might be the real mastermind? Emily thought back through the week. No. Just Trevor and the rotating crew of workers. But you're right, someone with inside knowledge had to set this up. Then we need to dig deeper, Dominic said. Look at who Trevor communicates with, who has access to our shipping schedules and inventory systems. I can analyze his email and phone records, Frank offered. If he's communicating with someone internal, I'll find it. Dominic nodded. Do it. Emily, you're done at the warehouse. I'm not risking you again. But. No arguments, Dominic said firmly. You've done more than enough. The rest we can handle without putting you in danger. Emily wanted to protest, but she saw the genuine fear in his eyes. Fear for her. That stopped her. Okay, she agreed. No more undercover work. Relief crossed Dominic's face. Thank you. He turned to Frank. Start analyzing Trevor's communications tonight. I want to know who he's working with by morning. As Frank left, Dominic turned back to Emily. You were incredibly brave this week. But you also scared me. When Frank said you were in Trevor's office, that he was questioning you, he shook his head. I realized how much I've come to care about your safety. Your well-being. The intensity in his voice made Emily's breath catch. I care about yours too, she said softly. That's why I took the risk. To protect you. Dominic stepped closer. You've already protected me, Emily. More than once. Now let me protect you. They stood close in the quiet office, the air between them charged with something unspoken but growing stronger each day. Then Emily smiled, breaking the tension. So, back to filing and scheduling for me? Dominic laughed. Actually, I have something else in mind. I want you to review all the personnel files for my senior staff. Use that observation skill of yours to look for anything unusual, financial problems, sudden lifestyle changes, connections to Trevor. Help me figure out who the inside person is. I can do that, Emily said. Starting tomorrow. Good. Dominic walked her to the door. Get some rest. You've earned it. As Emily walked back to the guest house under the stars, she felt the weight of the week settle over her. She had done it. She had gone undercover, gathered evidence, and escaped safely. She had proven to herself that she was capable of far more than she had ever imagined. But more than that, she had seen the fear in Dominic's eyes when he thought she might be in danger. The relief when she was safe. The care in his voice when he told her he valued her well-being. Something was growing between them. Something beyond employer and employee, beyond gratitude and loyalty. Something that made Emily's heart beat faster and her future seem full of possibilities she had never dared to dream about. Whatever happened next, whoever the mastermind behind the thefts turned out to be, Emily knew one thing for certain. She was exactly where she was meant to be, doing exactly what she was meant to do with exactly the person she was meant to be with. And that feeling was worth every risk she had taken. The next morning, Emily sat up in the estate's library, surrounded by personnel files Frank had prepared. 23 senior staff members, each with detailed background information. Employment history, financial records, personal connections. Dominic joined her mid-morning with coffee and pastries from Antoine's kitchen. Find anything yet? Still getting through the basics, Emily said, accepting the coffee gratefully. But I'm making notes on anything that seems unusual. She had already flagged 3 employees with recent financial problems. Medical bills, divorce settlements, underwater mortgages. People with money stress were more likely to be tempted by illegal opportunities. Dominic settled into the chair across from her, pulling out his own laptop. I'm going through the shipping schedules for the past 2 years. Looking for patterns in which shipments were targeted. Maybe that will tell us who had advanced knowledge. They worked in comfortable silence, occasionally sharing observations. Emily found herself noticing small things about Dominic. How he ran his hand through his hair when he was concentrating, the way he muttered to himself when he found something interesting, the slight smile when he looked up and caught her watching him. Around noon, Frank arrived with news. I analyzed Trevor's email and phone records. He's been communicating regularly with someone using an encrypted messaging app. I can't decrypt the messages, but I can see the frequency and timing. Whoever it is, they've been in contact almost daily for the past 18 months. Can you identify the other person? Dominic asked. Working on it. The account is registered to a burner phone. But I'm tracking the cell tower data to see where the phone typically connects from. Frank pulled up a map on his laptop. Most of the connections come from this area. He pointed to a location in northern New Jersey. Emily and Dominic leaned in to look. That's near our main office building, Dominic said slowly. Exactly, Frank confirmed. Whoever Trevor's working with, they spend a lot of time there. Emily looked at the personnel files spread across the table. How many of these senior staff work primarily from the main office? Dominic counted. 11. The others are in regional offices or work remotely. Then we narrow our search to those 11, Emily said, pulling out the relevant files. Look for who has the most to gain, the most access, and the financial need or personal motive to steal. Over the next hour they eliminated candidates. For had been with the company less than a year, not long enough to plan an operation this sophisticated. 2 had rock-solid alibis for times when the encrypted messages were sent, verified through security badge swipes at other locations. 3 had no financial problems and lifestyles that matched their salaries. That left 2 possibilities: Jennifer Brooks, the chief financial officer, and Marcus Webb, the director of operations. No, Dominic said immediately. Not Marcus. He's been with me for 12 years. He was one of my first employees when I started the company. Which gives him deep knowledge of your operations, Emily pointed out gently. And access to everything: shipping schedules, inventory systems, financial records. But no motive, Dominic insisted. I pay him extremely well. He has no financial problems. He's loyal. Emily pulled up Marcus Webb's file. You're right about his salary and financial stability. But look at this, his younger brother has a gambling problem. Multiple collections actions, 2 bankruptcies. Marcus might be helping his brother. Dominic's face fell. The possibility clearly pained him. Let me check Jennifer's file. But Jennifer Brooks' background was clean. No financial problems, no questionable connections, no family members with issues. She was wealthy in her own right from a previous career in investment banking. It could still be her, Frank said. Sometimes people commit crimes for reasons that aren't financial. Power, revenge, ideology. We need more than speculation, Dominic said. We need proof. Emily thought about the encrypted messages. Can we set a trap? Feed different information to Jennifer and Marcus separately, see which piece shows up in Trevor's operation. Frank nodded slowly. A canary trap. Old intelligence technique. Could work. They spent the next hour developing the plan. Dominic would tell Jennifer about a fictional shipment of high-value medical equipment coming to the Newark warehouse next Tuesday. He would tell Marcus about a different fictional shipment of rare computer servers coming to the same warehouse next Wednesday. Whichever shipment Trevor's people target, we'll know who leaked the information, Emily explained. And we'll have cameras ready to catch them in the act, Frank added. Dominic looked troubled but agreed. Let's do it. I need to know the truth even if it hurts. The next day, Dominic had separate meetings with Jennifer and Marcus, casually mentioning the fictional shipments as part of routine updates. Both executives received the information with normal professional interest. Neither showed any suspicious behavior. Now came the waiting. Tuesday evening, Frank's surveillance team staked out the Newark warehouse. The fictional medical equipment shipment was scheduled to arrive at 8 p.m. Emily insisted on being there, monitoring the operation from Frank's van 2 blocks away. 8 p.m. came and went. No unmarked truck. No unusual activity. Strike one, Frank muttered. Wednesday evening they repeated the setup. This time, the fictional computer server shipment was the target. Emily watched the surveillance feeds tensely. At 8:15 p.m., an unmarked white truck pulled up to Dock 12. Trevor Banks emerged from his office to meet it. We've got activity, Frank said into his radio. All units stand by. 2 men got out of the truck and opened the back. But instead of unloading, they stood talking to Trevor. After a few minutes, they got back in the truck and drove away. Trevor returned to his office looking frustrated. What just happened? Emily asked. Frank was already on his phone, calling his contact at the warehouse. After a brief conversation, he hung up and turned to Emily and Dominic with a grim expression. Trevor just called the main office, asking about a server shipment scheduled for tonight. He was told no such shipment exists. Frank paused. Whoever tipped him off realized it was fake when they couldn't verify it in the system. So they're cautious, Dominic said. That means Marcus. He would know to verify shipments before alerting Trevor. Emily's chest tightened. The man Dominic trusted for 12 years was betraying him. She saw the pain in Dominic's eyes as he processed the reality. We still need definitive proof, Frank said. Proof that will hold up in court. Then we get it, Dominic said quietly. Whatever it takes. Over the next week, Frank dug deeper into Marcus Webb's communications. Using sophisticated tracking software, he confirmed that Marcus's personal cell phone was the one communicating with Trevor through the encrypted app. Frank also discovered that Marcus had been making large cash deposits into an offshore account, over $300,000 in the past year. Far more than his salary could account for, even with bonuses. He's been taking a cut of the stolen merchandise sales, Frank explained. Trevor handles the physical theft and resale. Marcus provides the intelligence about what to steal and when. Dominic took the news with quiet devastation. Emily watched him close himself off emotionally, reverting to the cold businessman she had first met. It hurt to see. That evening she found him in the garden, sitting on a stone bench overlooking the pond. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Can I join you? She asked. Dominic nodded. Emily sat beside him, not speaking at first. Sometimes silence was better than words. Finally Dominic said, Marcus was at my wedding. He held my son when he was born. His voice was rough with emotion. After my wife and son died in the accident, Marcus helped me through the grief. He was more than an employee. He was family. Emily's heart broke for him. She hadn't known about his wife and son. The loss explained so much about his isolation, his difficulty trusting people. I'm so sorry, she said softly, for your loss. And for this betrayal. I trusted him completely, Dominic continued. That trust cost me millions. It almost cost me the company my parents would have been proud of. And it definitely cost me my faith in my own judgment. Emily reached over and took his hand. Your judgment isn't broken. Marcus made a choice to betray you. That's on him, not you. And your trust, your willingness to believe in people, that's not a weakness. It's a strength. Dominic looked at their joined hands. You're the first person I've trusted in a long time, Emily. Really trusted. And look at how well that's turned out. You've been nothing but honest, capable, and loyal. Because you gave me a reason to be, Emily said. You saw value in me when no one else did. That kind of respect creates loyalty. They sat together as the sun disappeared and stars emerged. Eventually Dominic said, We move against Marcus tomorrow. Frank has enough evidence for criminal charges. But I want to confront him first. I need to understand why. Do you want me there? Emily asked. Yes. Dominic squeezed her hand. I need your strength. The next morning, Dominic called Marcus into his office. Frank had the room wired for audio and video, recording everything. Emily sat in a chair to the side, present but quiet. Marcus entered with his usual confident smile. He was a white man in his late 40s, tall and athletic, with gray-streaked dark hair and an expensive suit. Everything about him projected success and competence. Morning, Dominic. You said it was urgent? Marcus settled into the chair across from Dominic's desk. Dominic placed a folder on the desk between them. I need to ask you about some discrepancies we've found in the Newark warehouse operations. Marcus's expression didn't change. What kind of discrepancies? Missing inventory. Forged documents. Unauthorized shipments. Dominic's voice was level, controlled. Over $2 million in stolen merchandise over the past 18 months. Now Marcus showed surprise. Perfectly calibrated surprise, Emily noticed. The surprise of someone who had prepared for this possibility. That's serious, Marcus said. Have you identified the source? We have. Dominic opened the folder and slid several documents across the desk. Your encrypted communications with Trevor Banks. Your offshore accounts with deposits matching the theft timeline. Your cell phone data placing you at the warehouse during suspicious activities. Marcus looked at the evidence. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he sat back, the mask of surprise falling away. What remained was something colder. I underestimated you, Marcus said finally. I thought you were too trusting, too focused on the big picture to notice details. I was wrong. Why? Dominic's voice cracked slightly on the word. Why betray me, Marcus? After everything we've been through together? Marcus laughed, a bitter sound. After everything we've been through? Dominic, I built this company with you. I worked the same 80-hour weeks. I sacrificed the same personal life. But you're the one who got the credit, the money, the glory. I was always just the loyal employee. I paid you extremely well, Dominic said. You have stock options, bonuses, profit sharing? Scraps, Marcus spat. You're worth hundreds of millions. I'm worth maybe 10 million if I'm lucky. We built this together, but you treat me like hired help. Emily saw the twisted logic clearly. Marcus had convinced himself he deserved more, that his contributions were undervalued. From there, it was a short step to justifying theft. So you stole from me, Dominic said. Stole from the company we built together. Put everything at risk. I took what I was owed, Marcus corrected. What you should have given me voluntarily. And I would have gotten away with it if you hadn't hired her. He gestured dismissively at Emily. Don't, Dominic said sharply. Emily saved this company. She's worth 10 of you. Marcus sneered. The waitress? Please. She got lucky once and you rewarded her with a job she's not qualified for. It's pathetic. Emily stayed quiet, refusing to rise to the bait. But Dominic stood, his voice cold and hard. Emily is more qualified than you ever were. She has integrity, something you clearly lack. She sees what others miss because she pays attention instead of assuming she's the smartest person in the room. Dominic pressed a button on his desk. Security, please come to my office. Frank entered with 2 uniformed security guards. Marcus looked at them, then back at Dominic. You're really going to do this? Marcus asked. Turn me over to the police? Destroy my life. You destroyed it yourself, Dominic said. The police are already involved. You'll be arrested for fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy to commit theft. Trevor has already been taken into custody and is cooperating with authorities. Marcus's face went pale. Trevor's talking? Everything. Names, dates, amounts. He's hoping for a plea deal. Dominic's expression was granite. You're finished, Marcus. And you did it to yourself through greed and entitlement. Security escorted Marcus out. As he passed Emily, he hissed, This is your fault. If you hadn't interfered, everything would have been fine. Emily met his eyes calmly. No. It would have continued being a lie. Now it's the truth. That's better even when it hurts. When they were alone, Dominic sat heavily in his chair. Emily went to him, kneeling beside him. I'm sorry you had to go through that, she said. It needed to happen. Dominic looked at her, his eyes haunted. But Emily, what he said about you, the insults, the disrespect. I should have defended you more strongly. You did defend me, Emily said. You told him I was worth 10 of him. That meant everything. Dominic cupped her face gently. You are worth everything, Emily Carter. You saved my company, my life, and maybe even my faith in people. I don't know how I'll ever repay that debt. You already have, Emily whispered. By seeing me, by trusting me, by giving me a chance to be more than I ever thought I could be. They stayed like that for a long moment, the connection between them stronger than ever. Two people who had found each other in unlikely circumstances and built something real through trust, respect, and growing love. The danger wasn't over. Marcus and Trevor would face trial. There would be testimony, media attention, stress. But they would face it together. And somehow that made Emily certain they could handle anything. What do you think will happen at the trial? Will Marcus try to take Dominic down with him, or accept responsibility? Drop a comment and subscribe to see how justice plays out in this emotional story. The weeks following Marcus's arrest were intense. Dominic's lawyers prepared for the criminal trial while the police investigation expanded. Emily found herself giving multiple depositions, detailing everything she had observed and documented. Through it all, she and Dominic grew closer. He relied on her for more than just professional support. They had dinner together most evenings, walked the estate grounds, talked about everything from business strategy to childhood memories. Emily noticed the way Dominic looked at her now, with warmth, admiration, and something deeper. She felt the same pull toward him, the magnetic attraction that went beyond gratitude or respect. But neither of them acted on it. The situation was too complicated, too fraught with power dynamics and ongoing legal issues. One evening in late June, Frank arrived at the estate with troubling news. Emily and Dominic were in the library, reviewing the latest financial reports, when he knocked. "We have a problem," Frank said without preamble. "Marcus is claiming Emily fabricated evidence against him. His lawyers filed a motion to exclude all her testimony and documentation." Dominic's jaw tightened. "On what grounds?" "They're arguing she had a personal vendetta against Marcus because he questioned her qualifications." Frank handed over legal documents. "They're painting her as a vindictive employee who created false evidence to discredit a senior executive who didn't respect her." Emily felt sick. "That's completely untrue. I documented everything objectively. I didn't even know Marcus was the suspect until the evidence pointed to him." "I know that and you know that," Frank said. "But Marcus's lawyers are good. They're creating reasonable doubt by attacking your credibility." Dominic read through the motion, his expression darkening. "This is garbage. Pure fiction. No judge will believe it." "Maybe, maybe not," Frank said. "Emily's background works against her here. No formal education, no investigation experience, suddenly promoted to a high-level position. Marcus's team is suggesting you gave her the job in exchange for her creating evidence against your enemies." The implication was clear and disgusting. Emily felt her cheeks burn with anger and humiliation. "That's a lie," Dominic said forcefully. "Emily earned her position through intelligence and capability." "I believe you," Frank said. "But juries can be swayed by good storytelling. And Marcus's lawyers are excellent storytellers." Emily stood, needing to move. "So what do we do? How do we fight this?" Frank looked uncomfortable. "The prosecutor wants additional evidence. Something that doesn't rely solely on Emily's observations and documentation. Something that independently corroborates the conspiracy." "Like what?" Dominic asked. "Like catching Marcus trying to tamper with witnesses or destroy evidence. Like proving he's still involved in criminal activity even while out on bail." Frank paused. "Like setting up a situation where he incriminates himself on record." Emily understood immediately. Another trap. But this time Marcus is the target. "Exactly," Frank said. "And you would be the bait." Dominic stood immediately. "Absolutely not. I won't put Emily in danger again." "It might be the only way to save the case," Frank argued. "Without additional evidence, Marcus could walk. His lawyers are that good." "I don't care," Dominic said. "Emily's safety is more important than any conviction." Emily appreciated his protectiveness, but she also understood what was at stake. If Marcus went free, he would likely come after Dominic again. The threat would never truly end. "What's the plan?" she asked Frank. "Emily, no," Dominic said. "This isn't your responsibility." "Yes, it is." Emily met his eyes. "Marcus targeted me in his legal strategy. He made this personal. And I won't let him win by using me as the weak link." She turned to Frank. "Tell me the plan." Frank explained. Marcus was out on bail, living in a luxury apartment, preparing his defense. He was prohibited from contacting any witnesses, But Frank believed he would try anyway if he thought he could intimidate or discredit Emily. "We set up a meeting," Frank said. "Make Marcus think Emily is willing to change her testimony in exchange for money. Record him offering a bribe or making threats. That gives us witness tampering on tape, plus proof he's still willing to commit crimes." "It's dangerous," Dominic said. "If Marcus suspects a trap, he could react violently." "I'll be wired," Emily said. "The security team will be close. And I can handle myself, Dominic. You know that." Dominic looked torn. Emily could see the conflict in his eyes. His need to protect her warring with his recognition that she was capable and determined. Finally he said, "If we do this, it's with maximum precautions. Full surveillance, armed security within 30 seconds, multiple backup plans. And if at any point Emily feels unsafe, we abort immediately." "Agreed," Frank said. They spent the next 2 days planning. Frank created a scenario where Emily would reach out to Marcus through an intermediary, claiming she was having second thoughts about testifying. She would suggest meeting to discuss the situation, leaving it vague enough that Marcus would have to incriminate himself to confirm what that meant. The intermediary was actually an undercover police detective. The meeting would take place in a coffee shop with multiple camera angles and officers positioned nearby. Emily rehearsed her approach with Frank and the prosecutor. She needed to get Marcus to explicitly offer money or make threats, but without being so obvious that he suspected entrapment. "Let him lead the conversation," the prosecutor advised. "He'll think he's manipulating you. Give him rope to hang himself." The night before the meeting, Emily couldn't sleep. She kept imagining different scenarios, ways it could go wrong. Finally at midnight she gave up and went for a walk in the garden. She found Dominic sitting by the pond, obviously unable to sleep as well. "Great minds," she said, sitting beside him on the stone bench. "I hate this plan," Dominic said bluntly. "I hate putting you at risk. But I also understand why it's necessary." "Marcus made his choices," Emily said. "Now he has to face the consequences. I'm just helping that happen." Dominic turned to her, his expression intense in the moonlight. "Emily, I need to tell you something. In case tomorrow goes wrong, in case I don't get another chance." "Nothing will go wrong," Emily said, but her heart was pounding. "Just let me say this." Dominic took her hands in his. "These past months with you have been the best of my life. You've brought light and purpose back into my world. You've shown me that trust and connection are still possible, even after loss and betrayal." Emily's breath caught. "Dominic. I'm falling in love with you," he said quietly. "I've been falling since the night you warned me at the diner. Maybe before, in some cosmic way I don't understand. And I need you to know that, whatever happens tomorrow, you've changed my life for the better." Tears filled Emily's eyes. "I'm falling in love with you too. I have been for a while. But I didn't think I should say anything because of the job, the situation, the power dynamic." "None of that matters," Dominic said. "What matters is how we feel. How real this is between us." He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. Emily didn't pull away. She met him halfway, their lips joining in a kiss that felt like coming home. When they finally separated, both breathing hard, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. "Promise me you'll be careful tomorrow?" "I promise," Emily whispered. "And then, when this is all over, we figure out what this means. What we mean." "Deal?" Dominic said, kissing her again. The next morning, Emily dressed carefully in jeans and a green blouse. Casual, not threatening. Frank fitted her with a wire so thin it was invisible under her clothing. "Remember, stay in public view," he instructed. "Keep the conversation going until Marcus incriminates himself clearly. We need explicit statements on tape." The coffee shop was in a busy area of downtown Newark. Emily arrived first, choosing a table in the middle of the room where the cameras had the best angles. Her coffee sat untouched in front of her as she waited. Marcus arrived 10 minutes late. He looked thinner than at his arrest, stressed. He scanned the coffee shop carefully before approaching Emily's table. "This is unexpected," he said, sitting across from her. "I've been thinking about the trial," Emily said, keeping her voice neutral. "About my testimony." Marcus's eyes sharpened with interest. "Have you now?" "This situation has gotten complicated," Emily continued. "I never wanted to be in the middle of a legal battle. I was just doing my job." "Were you?" Marcus leaned forward. "Or were you doing what Dominic wanted? Playing the loyal employee, hoping for rewards?" Emily swallowed her anger at the insinuation. "I told the truth about what I saw." "The truth can be flexible," Marcus said smoothly. Memories can be unclear. Interpretations can change. Is that what you want? Emily asked. For me to change my interpretation? I want you to understand that your testimony is hurting people, destroying careers and lives. Marcus's tone was reasonable, sympathetic. I'm not saying you lied. I'm saying maybe you misunderstood what you saw. Maybe things weren't as clear-cut as you thought. And if I testified that way? Emily asked. That I was mistaken about some details? Marcus sat back, a small smile playing at his lips. Then I'd be very grateful. Grateful enough to show my appreciation financially. Say $200,000? Emily's heart raced. There it was. A clear bribe on tape. That's a lot of money, she said. You deserve it for the stress you've been through, Marcus said. And it would help you start over somewhere new. Away from all this drama. Start over? Emily repeated. Well, once the trial falls apart, Dominic won't want you around, Marcus said. Constant reminder of this whole mess. But with $200,000 you could go anywhere, do anything. What if I don't want to leave? Emily asked. Marcus's expression hardened. Then you'd be making a mistake. A serious mistake. Because if my lawyers destroy your credibility on the stand, which they will, you'll be the one facing perjury charges. Dominic won't protect you. He'll throw you under the bus to save himself. He wouldn't do that, Emily said. He's done it before, Marcus said coldly. You think you're special because he gave you a job? You're just convenient. Useful. When you stop being useful, you're gone. The cruelty in his voice was stunning. But Emily kept her composure. So my options are, change my testimony and take the money, or stick to my story and face perjury charges? That's about the size of it, Marcus said. Though I'd strongly recommend option 1. For your own well-being. Are you threatening me? Emily asked clearly. Marcus smiled. I'm offering you a way out. Take it or don't. But don't say I didn't warn you about the consequences. Emily stood. I think I have everything I need from this conversation. Marcus's smile faded. What does that mean? It means I'm not changing my testimony. It means every word you just said was recorded. And it means you just added witness tampering and bribery to your charges. Emily pulled the wire from under her blouse, showing him the small microphone. Marcus's face went white, then red with rage. He lunged across the table, grabbing for Emily. But she stepped back quickly, and within seconds, 4 plainclothes officers converged on the table. Marcus Webb, you're under arrest for attempted witness tampering and bribery, one officer said, pulling Marcus's hands behind his back for handcuffs. Marcus struggled, his eyes locked on Emily with pure hatred. You manipulative little witch. This was a setup from the start. You set yourself up, Emily said calmly. I gave you the chance to do the right thing. You chose crime instead. As the officers led Marcus away, still shouting threats, Frank appeared at Emily's side. Perfect execution. The audio is crystal clear. His lawyers can't weasel out of this. Emily's hands were shaking with adrenaline, but she felt triumphant. They had done it. Marcus had sealed his own fate. Outside the coffee shop, Dominic was waiting by the car. When he saw Emily, relief flooded his face. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. It's over, Emily said into his chest. He confessed everything. Offered a bribe, made threats, all on tape. You were brilliant, Dominic said, pulling back to look at her. And brave. And perfect. Frank cleared his throat. I'll give you 2 a minute. Emily, the prosecutor wants you for a debrief in an hour. When they were alone, Dominic cupped Emily's face in his hands. I was terrified the whole time. Watching on the monitors, hearing him threaten you. If anything had happened. But it didn't, Emily said. We're both safe. And Marcus is finished. Dominic kissed her, right there on the street, not caring who saw. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Emily smiled. So what now? She asked. Now we watch Marcus go to prison for a very long time, Dominic said. And then we figure out our future. Together. Together sounds perfect, Emily said. As they drove back to the estate, Emily felt lighter than she had in weeks. The trap had worked. Justice would be served. And the man she loved was safe. The hardest parts were over. Now came the good parts, healing, building, growing. With Dominic beside her, Emily was ready for all of it. The aftermath of Marcus's second arrest was swift and decisive. His lawyers tried to argue entrapment, but the recordings were clear. Marcus had initiated the bribery and threats without any prompting from Emily beyond mentioning she was reconsidering her testimony. The prosecution now had an airtight case. The original evidence of embezzlement and theft, plus the new charges of witness tampering and attempted bribery. Marcus's legal team began negotiating a plea deal. Through it all, Emily returned to her normal duties as Dominic's assistant, though nothing felt normal anymore. Their relationship had shifted the night by the pond. They hadn't discussed exactly what they were to each other yet, but the attraction and affection were obvious to everyone on the staff. Rachel commented on it one morning as Emily organized Dominic's schedule. "You're good for him, you know. I haven't seen Mr. Romano this relaxed in years. Not since before the accident." Emily looked up from her laptop. "Rachel, can I ask you about that? About what happened to his family?" "He mentioned it once, but I don't want to pry." Rachel's expression grew sad. "It was 5 years ago. His wife Sarah and their son Michael were driving home from Michael's soccer game. A drunk driver ran a red light, hit them head-on. They both died instantly." Emily's heart clenched. "That's horrible. Mr. Romano threw himself into work after that. Barely slept, barely ate, just worked constantly. We were all worried about him." Rachel smiled slightly. "But since you've been here, he's different." He laughs again. "Takes time for himself. He's healing, Emily. Because of you." "He's healing because he's ready to," Emily said. "I'm just lucky to be here while it happens." But Rachel's words stayed with her. The weight of Dominic's grief, the loss he had carried alone for so long. No wonder he had difficulty trusting people. No wonder Marcus's betrayal had hit so hard. That evening, Emily and Dominic had dinner on the patio overlooking the gardens. Antoine had prepared grilled salmon with roasted vegetables, and they ate as the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant colors. "Marcus's lawyers contacted the prosecutor today," Dominic said. "They're offering to plead guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. 20 years instead of 35. "Are you going to accept?" Emily asked. "The prosecutor is recommending it. Saves the time and expense of a trial, guarantees a conviction." Dominic set down his fork. "But part of me wants the trial. Wants to see Marcus have to face everything he did publicly." "That's understandable," Emily said. "He hurt you deeply. You want him to face consequences." "He did hurt me," Dominic agreed. "But more than that, he abused my trust. Used our friendship as cover to steal and manipulate. That betrayal cuts deeper than the financial loss." Emily reached across the table, taking his hand. "I know something about betrayal and loss. Maybe not on the same scale, but I understand how it changes you." "Tell me," Dominic said softly. Emily took a breath. She rarely talked about her past, but Dominic had shared his pain with her. She could do the same. "My parents were addicts," she said. "Drugs, alcohol, whatever they could get. I spent my childhood taking care of them, making sure they didn't hurt themselves or Aisha. When I was 16, they both overdosed in the same week. First my dad, then my mom 3 days later." Dominic's grip on her hand tightened. "Social services wanted to put Aisha in foster care. She was only 10. But I convinced them to let me take guardianship. I dropped out of high school, got my GED, started working. Did whatever it took to keep us together." Emily's voice was steady, though the memories still hurt. "I trusted my parents to get better, to choose us over their addictions. They chose the drugs instead. That taught me that trust is dangerous." "But you still trusted me," Dominic said. "That first night at the diner, you trusted your instinct to warn me." "I did," Emily agreed. "Because I saw something in you. Kindness. Integrity. And you proved my trust was right when you gave me this opportunity." They sat in silence for a moment, hands still joined across the table. "We've both been betrayed by people we should have been able to trust," Dominic said finally. "But we found each other anyway. That has to mean something." "It means we're both brave enough to try again," Emily said. "To risk trust even knowing it can hurt." Dominic stood and pulled Emily to her feet. They stood close on the patio, the evening air warm around them. "I want to try," he said. "With you. Not just the professional relationship, but everything. A real relationship, Emily. If you want that too." "I do," Emily said. "I want that more than anything." He kissed her then, slow and sweet, full of promise and hope. When they separated, Emily felt like her heart might burst from happiness. "We should probably set some ground rules," Dominic said, smiling. "About the work-relationship balance." "Definitely," Emily agreed. "I don't want anyone thinking I'm getting special treatment because we're together." They walked through the gardens, talking through the practicalities. Emily would continue as his assistant, but they would be transparent with the staff about their relationship. No favoritism, No compromising the professional boundaries when it came to business decisions. And maybe we keep it quiet until after the trial stuff is completely resolved, Emily suggested. I don't want Marcus's lawyers using our relationship to discredit either of us. Smart, Dominic said. See? This is why you're so good at what you do. You think strategically. They ended up at the pond, sitting on the stone bench where Dominic had first confessed his feelings. The moon was full, reflecting on the water's surface. Can I ask you something? Emily said. About Sarah and Michael. Dominic tensed slightly but nodded. Anything. Do you feel guilty? About moving on, being happy with someone new? I did at first, Dominic admitted. After they died, I couldn't imagine ever feeling happiness again. It seemed wrong, like I would be betraying their memory. He looked at Emily. But I realized they wouldn't want me to be miserable forever. Sarah was always telling me to slow down, enjoy life, find balance. Michael just wanted me to be happy. Living in grief forever doesn't honor them. Living fully, loving again, that's the real tribute. Emily leaned her head on his shoulder. They sound like wonderful people. They were, Dominic said. And I'll always love them. But I have room in my heart for you too, Emily. A different kind of love, but just as real. I'm not trying to replace them, Emily said. I could never do that. I know, Dominic said. You're not a replacement. You're a new chapter. A second chance I never thought I'd get. They stayed by the pond until late, talking about everything and nothing. Emily shared stories about raising Aisha, the struggles and triumphs. Dominic talked about building his company from nothing, the sacrifices and victories. Aisha's graduating next month, Emily said. She's finished her nursing degree. I'm so proud of her. You should be, Dominic said. You kept her safe, got her educated, gave her a future. That's remarkable. It was worth every hard day, Emily said. Every double shift, every skipped meal, every moment of exhaustion. She's going to be an amazing nurse. She learned from an amazing sister, Dominic said. Your strength, your determination, your refusal to give up. Those are the qualities that caught my attention, Emily. Your character was obvious from the first night we met. Emily blushed. You saw a scared waitress who almost got you killed by speaking up. I saw a brave woman who risked her own safety to protect a stranger, Dominic corrected. That's not common. That's special. Over the next few weeks, as Marcus's plea deal was finalized, Emily and Dominic fell into a comfortable rhythm. They kept their romantic relationship private, but everyone on the staff could see the change in both of them. The warmth, the smiles, the subtle touches when they thought no one was looking. Aisha visited for a weekend, and Dominic insisted on hosting a small graduation celebration for her. Antoine prepared an elaborate dinner, and Dominic gave Aisha a generous check to help her get started in her nursing career. You don't have to do this, Aisha protested, overwhelmed by his generosity. I want to, Dominic said. Your sister saved my life and my company. Supporting your success is the least I can do. After Aisha left, she called Emily. He's amazing, she said. And he's totally in love with you. You know that, right? Emily smiled. I might have noticed. Good. Because you deserve someone who sees how incredible you are. And he definitely does. The day of Marcus's sentencing arrived in late July. The judge accepted the plea agreement, 20 years in federal prison for embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy, and witness tampering. Trevor received 15 years for his part in the operation. Emily and Dominic attended the sentencing hearing. As Marcus was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, he looked at them one last time. Not with hatred anymore, but with something like resignation. I'm sorry, he mouthed to Dominic. Dominic nodded once, acknowledging the apology but not accepting it. Some betrayals went too deep for forgiveness. Outside the courthouse, Dominic pulled Emily close. It's really over now. We can move forward. Together, Emily said. Together, Dominic agreed. That night they had dinner at a nice restaurant in the city, their first official date in public. Dominic held her hand across the table, not caring who saw or what anyone thought. I have something for you, he said, pulling out a small box. Emily's heart skipped. Dominic. It's not what you think, he said quickly, opening the box. Inside was a beautiful gold necklace with a pendant shaped like a compass. I had it made specially. The compass points north, symbolizing guidance and direction. You guided me out of darkness, Emily. You showed me the way back to trust and hope and love. I wanted you to have something that represents what you mean to me. Tears filled Emily's eyes. It's beautiful. Dominic fastened the necklace around her neck. You're beautiful. inside and out. And I'm so grateful you came into my life. Emily touched the compass pendant, feeling its weight settle against her chest. Right over her heart. I love you, she said. The words came easily, naturally. I think I have for a while now. I love you too, Dominic said. More than I thought I could ever love anyone again. They finished dinner in a glow of happiness, talking about the future. About where their relationship might go, about dreams and plans and possibilities. As they walked to the car, Emily felt the compass pendant warm against her skin. She had spent her whole life lost, struggling to find direction. Now she had found her North Star in Dominic. And she knew with absolute certainty that this was just the beginning of their story. The best parts were still ahead. With Marcus and Trevor in prison and the legal battles resolved, life at the Romano estate settled into a peaceful routine. Emily continued her work as Dominic's assistant, but they no longer hid their relationship. The staff was supportive and happy for them both. Dominic's company recovered quickly from the theft scandal. With the criminals caught and the security vulnerabilities addressed, clients regained confidence. Business actually increased as Dominic's handling of the situation demonstrated strong leadership and integrity. Emily flourished in her role. She had a natural talent for organization and problem-solving, and Dominic trusted her judgment completely. She began taking on more responsibilities, attending executive meetings, managing key client relationships, even presenting at board meetings. One August morning, Dominic called Emily into his office. I have a proposition for you. Emily smiled. The last time you said that, you changed my life. This might too, Dominic said. I want to promote you to Director of Operations. The position Marcus held. Emily's breath caught. Dominic, that's a huge role. I don't have a business degree or formal training in logistics. You have something better. Practical intelligence, keen observation skills, and unquestionable integrity. Plus, you know this company inside and out now. You've learned the business from the ground up. Dominic handed her a document. This is the job description and compensation package. Take your time, think about it. Emily looked at the salary figure and nearly dropped the paper. It was more money than she had ever imagined earning. This is incredibly generous, she said. It's what the position pays, Dominic corrected. And you'll earn every penny. The Director of Operations runs the day-to-day business operations, manages warehouse facilities, oversees logistics coordination. It's demanding work. Can I think about it? Emily asked. Of course. Take as long as you need. That evening, Emily called Aisha to discuss the offer. Her sister listened to the details, then said, Emily, this is amazing. Why are you hesitating? Because I'm scared, Emily admitted. What if I fail? What if I'm not qualified and I mess everything up? You won't, Aisha said firmly. You're the smartest, most capable person I know. You raised me while working 2 jobs. You went undercover to catch criminals. You've already proven you can handle anything. This is just the next challenge. But what if people think I only got the job because I'm with Dominic? Then those people don't know you, Aisha said. Anyone who works with you can see you're brilliant at what you do. Dominic wouldn't offer you this position if he didn't genuinely believe you'd excel at it. Trust him. And more importantly, trust yourself. Emily thought about that for a long time. Trust yourself. She had spent so long doubting her own abilities, believing she was just a waitress with no real value. But Dominic had seen something in her from the beginning. Maybe it was time she saw it too. The next morning, she went to Dominic's office. I accept. I want the Director of Operations position. Dominic's face lit up. You're sure? I'm sure. I'm also terrified, but I think that's normal for big changes. Emily smiled. You took a chance on me once before. I'm asking you to take another one. This isn't a chance, Dominic said. This is a certainty. You're going to be excellent at this, Emily. The transition took several weeks. Dominic hired a new executive assistant to take over Emily's previous duties, a competent woman named Patricia who Emily trained personally. Meanwhile, Emily shadowed the interim operations director, learning the intricacies of the role. She visited all the warehouse facilities, meeting the staff, understanding the workflows. At each location, she listened carefully to the workers' concerns and suggestions. She reviewed operational procedures, looking for inefficiencies and areas for improvement. You're a natural at this, the interim director told her. You actually listen to people instead of just dictating from the top. The staff appreciates that. Emily implemented several changes in her first month. A new inventory tracking system that reduced errors, improved safety protocols based on worker feedback, and a streamlined shipping process that cut delivery times by 15%. The results spoke for themselves. Productivity increased, customer satisfaction improved, and employee morale rose significantly. At the quarterly board meeting in October, Emily presented her first operational report. She was nervous walking into the conference room full of executives and board members, but Dominic gave her an encouraging smile from his seat at the head of the table. Emily delivered her presentation clearly and confidently, using data to support her initiatives and answering questions with detailed knowledge. When she finished, the board members applauded. "Ms. Carter, that was exceptionally well done," the board chairman said. "Your improvements to our operations in just 3 months are impressive. Dominic made an excellent choice promoting you." After the meeting, Dominic pulled Emily aside. "You were perfect in there. Confident, knowledgeable, professional. I'm so proud of you." Emily beamed. "I was scared I'd mess up." "You didn't. And even if you had stumbled, you would have recovered. That's what makes you great at this, Emily. You're not afraid to try, to learn, to adapt." Their relationship continued to deepen alongside Emily's professional success. They were careful to maintain appropriate boundaries at work, but outside the office, they were fully committed to each other. In November, Dominic took Emily to Philadelphia to meet his extended family. Cousins, aunts, uncles who had supported him through the dark years after Sarah and Michael's deaths. They welcomed Emily warmly, especially when they saw how happy Dominic was with her. "You brought him back to life," Dominic's Aunt Rosa told Emily privately. "After Sarah and Michael died, we thought we lost him too. He was just going through the motions. But now he's really living again. Thank you for that." "He did the same for me," Emily said honestly. "We saved each other." December brought the company holiday party, an elegant affair held at a hotel ballroom. Emily wore a beautiful red dress that Dominic had bought her, and he wore a sharp dark suit. They arrived together, making their relationship publicly official in the company's social sphere. Emily mingled comfortably with executives, clients, and staff. People who had initially been skeptical of her rapid rise now respected her competence and contributions. She had proven herself through results, not connections. Late in the evening, Dominic pulled her onto the dance floor. As they swayed to the music, he said, "I want to show you something." After the party. "What is it?" Emily asked. "A surprise. Trust me?" "Always," Emily said. After the party ended, Dominic drove them not to the estate, but to a different location in the countryside. They pulled up to a beautiful house, smaller than Dominic's main estate but charming and elegant, with large windows and a wraparound porch. "What is this?" Emily asked as Dominic led her inside. "This is yours," Dominic said. "If you want it." The house was furnished beautifully, decorated in warm, welcoming colors. A modern kitchen, comfortable living spaces, a library with built-in bookshelves, 3 bedrooms upstairs. "Dominic, I don't understand," Emily said. "You've been living in the guest house for almost a year," Dominic explained. "Which was always meant to be temporary. I wanted you to have a real home. A place that's truly yours, where Aisha can visit, where you can build whatever future you want." Emily walked through the rooms, touching the furniture, looking out the windows at the property. It was more than she had ever dreamed of owning. "There's no pressure," Dominic continued. "No strings attached. The house is yours regardless of what happens between us. I had the deed put in your name. It's a gift, Emily. For everything you've done for me and my company." Tears rolled down Emily's cheeks. "This is too much." "It's not enough," Dominic said, coming to stand beside her. "You saved my life, my business, and my heart. A house doesn't even begin to repay that debt. But I wanted you to have security, stability. Something that's permanently yours." Emily turned to him, overwhelmed with emotion. "How did I get so lucky to find you?" "I ask myself the same question every day," Dominic said, wiping her tears gently. "About finding you." They stood in the empty living room, holding each other, both grateful for the unlikely journey that had brought them together. "I love you," Emily whispered. "More than I knew it was possible to love someone." "I love you too," Dominic said. "And I want to build a future with you, Emily. If you'll have me." "Yes," Emily said without hesitation. "Whatever that future looks like, I want it with you." They spent hours exploring the house, talking about possibilities. Emily could move in immediately or wait until she was ready. She could invite Aisha to live with her, or keep it as a private retreat. The choice was entirely hers. As they drove back to the estate in the early morning hours, Emily felt a profound sense of peace. She had come so far from the exhausted waitress working 2 jobs. She had become someone she was proud of, capable, confident, successful. But more importantly, she had found love with someone who truly saw her, valued her, and wanted to build a life together. That was the real gift. Not the house or the job or the money. The gift was Dominic's heart, freely given, and the knowledge that she had a partner to face whatever came next. Everything she had been through, every hardship and struggle, had led her to this moment. And she wouldn't change a single step of the journey, because it had brought her exactly where she belonged. January brought a cold snap to New Jersey, coating the estate in fresh snow. Emily had moved into her new house over the holidays, and Aisha had come to stay for 2 weeks, marveling at her sister's transformation. "I still can't believe this is your life now," Aisha said, curled up on the couch in Emily's living room. "A year ago you were serving coffee and stocking shelves." "I know," Emily agreed. "Sometimes it doesn't feel real." "It's real," Aisha said. "You earned it, Emily. You worked hard, you were brave, and you grabbed the opportunity when it came. I'm so proud of you." They spent the holidays together, with Dominic joining them for dinners and celebrations. Aisha thoroughly approved of Dominic, telling Emily privately that he was perfect for you, and clearly head over heels in love. In mid-January, the federal prosecutor's office called. Trevor, serving his 15-year sentence, wanted to provide additional information about the criminal operation. He claimed there were other people involved, people who had escaped prosecution. Dominic and Emily met with the prosecutor, Assistant U.S. Attorney Janet Williams, to discuss the new development. "Trevor's claiming there was a buyer network," Janet explained. "People who purchased the stolen merchandise, knowing it was illegal. He's willing to identify them in exchange for a reduced sentence." "How much of a reduction?" Dominic asked. 5 years. He'd serve 10 instead of 15. Dominic's jaw tightened. "And you're considering this?" "If the information leads to arrests, yes," Janet said. "Taking down a fencing network would be significant. These operations hurt multiple businesses, not just yours." "What do you think, Emily?" Dominic asked. Emily considered carefully. "If Trevor's information helps catch more criminals, that's justice too. Even if it means he gets a shorter sentence." They agreed to let the prosecutor proceed. Over the next month, Trevor provided names, dates, and documentation of the buyers who had purchased stolen goods. The FBI investigated, corroborating his information. By February, they had enough evidence to arrest 6 individuals involved in receiving and reselling stolen property. All of them pleaded guilty rather than face trial. "Your willingness to let Trevor cooperate led to this," Janet told Dominic and Emily. 6 more criminals off the street, and a major fencing operation shut down. "That's a win." "It feels like justice," Emily agreed. But there was still unfinished business. Marcus was serving his 20-year sentence at a federal prison in Pennsylvania. He had written several letters to Dominic, all of which Dominic had refused to read. One evening in late February, Emily found Dominic in his study, staring at the latest letter. "Are you going to open it?" she asked gently. "I don't know," Dominic admitted. "Part of me wants to know what he has to say. Part of me thinks it doesn't matter anymore." "Maybe it would help you find closure," Emily suggested. "You don't have to forgive him. But understanding might bring peace." Dominic opened the envelope slowly. The letter was handwritten, several pages long. Emily watched his expression shift as he read, anger, pain, and finally something like sadness. When he finished, he handed it to Emily. "Read it." The letter was a full confession and apology. Marcus acknowledged his crimes, his betrayal, his selfishness. He explained how his resentment had grown over years, fueled by his brother's problems and his own sense of inadequacy. He took full responsibility for his choices and expressed genuine remorse. "I don't expect forgiveness," Marcus wrote. "I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that my betrayal was my failure, not yours. You were a good friend and employer. I was the one who failed our friendship by letting jealousy and greed corrupt me. I'm sorry, Dominic. For everything." Emily looked up at Dominic. "What do you think?" "I think he means it," Dominic said quietly. "I think he finally understands what he did. But that doesn't erase the harm or rebuild the trust." "No, it doesn't," Emily agreed. "But it might help you let go of the anger." "Maybe," Dominic said. He took the letter back, folding it carefully. "I'm not ready to forgive him. But I can accept his apology and move on. Stop letting his betrayal define this chapter of my life." "That sounds healthy," Emily said. Dominic pulled her into his arms. "You help me be healthier. More balanced. You remind me there's more to life than work and grudges." They spent the evening by the fireplace talking about the future. The company was thriving under Emily's operational improvements. Dominic was considering expanding into new markets. Emily was developing training programs to promote more workers from within the company. "I want to create the kind of opportunities you created for me," Emily explained. "Find people with potential and give them the chance to prove themselves." "That's a perfect vision," Dominic said. "And very you. Turning your own experience into opportunity for others." In March, Dominic asked Emily to accompany him to a business conference in San Francisco. They spent 4 days attending presentations, networking with industry leaders, and exploring the city together. On their last evening, Dominic took Emily to dinner at an elegant restaurant overlooking the bay. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. "I have something I want to ask you," Dominic said as they finished dessert. Emily's heart started racing. Something in his tone suggested this was important. Dominic reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Emily's breath caught. "Emily Carter," Dominic said, his voice thick with emotion. "A year and a half ago you saved my life with a simple warning. Since then you've transformed my world. You've brought joy, purpose, and love back into my life. You've proven yourself brilliant, capable, and absolutely irreplaceable." He opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring. "I don't want to imagine my future without you in it. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Emily's face. "Yes. Yes, absolutely yes." Dominic slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a kiss that made the other diners applaud. When they separated, both were crying and laughing. "I love you so much," Emily said. "I can't believe this is real." "Believe it," Dominic said. "You're stuck with me now." They spent the rest of the evening in a glow of happiness, calling Aisha to share the news. Aisha screamed with joy so loudly that Emily had to hold the phone away from her ear. Flying back to New Jersey the next day, Emily couldn't stop looking at her ring. Everything had changed so completely in such a short time. From waitress to director, from struggling to secure, from alone to engaged to the man she loved. "What are you thinking about?" Dominic asked, noticing her smile. "Just how unexpected life can be," Emily said. "How one moment of courage can change everything." "That warning at the diner?" Dominic said. "That was the moment everything changed for both of us. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't spoken up?" Emily asked. "I try not to," Dominic said seriously. "Because the alternatives are all bad. I could have been killed, you would still be working 2 jobs, we never would have found each other. I prefer this reality." "Me too," Emily said, squeezing his hand. Back at the estate, they announced their engagement to the staff. Rachel cried happy tears. Antoine prepared a special celebratory dinner. Maria insisted on helping plan the wedding. The news spread quickly through the company. Emily received dozens of congratulatory messages from employees at all levels. Her rise from temp worker to executive to Dominic's fiancée was the kind of story that gave people hope. In April, they began planning the wedding. They wanted something intimate and meaningful, not a large corporate affair. They chose a garden venue for late June, inviting only close friends and family. As the legal proceedings fully concluded with the final sentencing of the Fencing Network members, Dominic and Emily felt like they could finally close that chapter completely. Justice had been served. The criminals were punished. The company was secure. "We did it," Emily said one evening, sitting in the garden where Dominic had first confessed his feelings. "We actually survived all of that and came out stronger." "We did," Dominic agreed. "Because we trusted each other, supported each other, and refused to let the danger and betrayal define us." Emily thought about the journey, the fear, the risks, the challenges, but also the growth, the love, the triumph. Every difficult moment had been worth it to arrive at this place of peace and happiness. "I used to think happy endings were for other people," Emily said. "People with education and money and connections. Not for someone like me." "You were wrong," Dominic said gently. "Happy endings are for people who are brave enough to take risks, smart enough to recognize opportunities, and strong enough to overcome obstacles. That's exactly who you are, Emily. You earned this happiness." As they sat together under the stars, planning their future and reflecting on their past, Emily felt a profound sense of gratitude. Not just for the material changes in her life, but for the internal transformation. She had discovered her own strength, value, and capability. The scared waitress who had whispered a warning in a dark diner was gone. In her place was a confident woman who knew her worth, trusted her instincts, and believed in her ability to handle whatever life brought. And that woman was ready for the beautiful future stretching out before her, hand in hand with the man who had seen her potential from the very beginning. Justice had been served. Love had prevailed. And the real story, the story of their life together, was just beginning. June arrived with perfect weather. Warm but not hot, with gentle breezes and clear blue skies. The garden venue Emily and Dominic had chosen was in full bloom, roses and hydrangeas creating a natural cathedral of flowers. The guest list was small and intimate, 50 people who truly mattered to them. Aisha was Emily's maid of honor, radiant in a pale blue dress. Dominic's cousin served as his best man, since his closest friend had been the man who betrayed him. Emily wore a simple but elegant white dress, nothing too elaborate or showy. The compass necklace Dominic had given her rested against her collarbone. Her hair was pulled back in a loose style with small flowers woven through. As she walked down the aisle on Aisha's arm, no father to give her away, but her sister's support meant everything, Emily's eyes found Dominic waiting at the altar. He wore a dark blue suit, looking handsome and nervous and completely in love. The ceremony was brief and personal. They had written their own vows, speaking honestly about what they meant to each other. "Emily," Dominic said, his voice steady but emotional. "You came into my life when I had lost faith in people and connection. You showed me that trust is still possible, that love can exist even after loss. You saved my life, my business, and my heart. I promise to honor your courage, support your dreams, and love you unconditionally for all the days we have together." Emily's turn. She took a steadying breath. "Dominic, you saw value in me when I couldn't see it in myself. You gave me opportunity when the world had given me nothing but obstacles. You believed in my potential and helped me become the person I was always meant to be. I promise to be your partner, your equal, and your greatest supporter. I promise to face every challenge with you and celebrate every victory by your side. I love you completely." There wasn't a dry eye in the audience as they exchanged rings and sealed their promises with a kiss. The reception was held in a nearby pavilion, with Antoine catering an incredible meal. There were speeches. Aisha talking about how Dominic had transformed her sister's life and how grateful she was for his love. Dominic's Aunt Rosa sharing how Emily had brought him back to life after years of grief. During their first dance, Dominic held Emily close and whispered, "Happy?" "Incredibly," Emily said. "This is the happiest day of my life." "Mine too," Dominic said. "And there will be many more. We have a whole future to fill with happiness." They danced until late, surrounded by people who loved them and wished them well. As the evening wound down, Emily found herself talking with Janet Williams, the prosecutor who had handled the case against Marcus and Trevor. "I wanted to thank you," Janet said. "Your work on that case was exemplary. The evidence you gathered, your testimony, the undercover work. You were instrumental in getting justice." "I was just doing what needed to be done," Emily said. "That's what makes you remarkable," Janet replied. "You didn't have to get involved. You could have just warned Dominic that night and walked away. But you chose to follow through to see justice done. That takes real character." After the reception, Dominic and Emily left for their honeymoon. 2 weeks in Italy, visiting Rome, Florence, and the Amalfi Coast. They toured museums, ate incredible food, and simply enjoyed being together without the pressure of work or legal proceedings. Standing on a cliff overlooking the Mediterranean, Emily marveled at how far she had come. 2 years ago, she had been struggling to pay rent. Now she was honeymooning in Italy as a company executive married to the man she loved. "What are you thinking?" Dominic asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "Just appreciating the journey," Emily said. "All the unexpected turns that led here." "Any regrets?" Dominic asked. "Not a single one," Emily said honestly. "Every difficult moment taught me something. Every risk led to something better. I wouldn't change any of it." When they returned from their honeymoon, Emily dove back into her work with renewed energy. She had developed a mentorship program to identify promising employees and provide them with training and advancement opportunities. The first participant was a young woman named Kendra, a warehouse worker who showed exceptional organizational skills and leadership potential. Emily worked closely with her, teaching her the business and helping her develop professionally. "You're giving me the same chance Mr. Romano gave you," Kendra said during one of their meetings. "That's exactly the point," Emily said. "Opportunity should be available to anyone willing to work hard and learn. Not just people with degrees or connections." By fall, 3 employees had been promoted through Emily's program, moving from entry-level positions to management roles. The program became a model other companies requested information about. Emily also continued improving operational efficiency. She implemented new safety protocols that reduced workplace injuries by 40%. She streamlined the supply chain, cutting costs while improving delivery times. Under her leadership, Romano Logistics became an industry leader in both profitability and employee satisfaction. Dominic watched her success with pride and admiration. "You've revolutionized this company," he told her during a board meeting. "Not just operationally but culturally. People want to work here now. We have the best retention rate in the industry. That's because we treat people with respect and give them opportunities," Emily said. "It's not complicated. It's just caring about the humans behind the work." In November, Emily discovered she was pregnant. She and Dominic had discussed starting a family, but they hadn't been actively trying. The news was unexpected but wonderful. "We're having a baby," Emily said, showing Dominic the positive test. His face went through a series of emotions: surprise, joy, fear, and finally pure happiness. "We're having a baby," he repeated, pulling her into a tight embrace. "Are you okay?" Emily asked, sensing his momentary fear. "I know this brings up memories of Michael." "It does," Dominic admitted. "But good memories. And this baby will have their own story, their own life. I can honor Michael's memory while celebrating this new beginning." They told Aisha first, who screamed with excitement and immediately started planning to be the best aunt in history. Then they shared the news with the staff and the company, receiving congratulations from everyone. Emily worked through her pregnancy, taking on a slightly reduced schedule but remaining actively involved in operations. She trained her assistant director to handle more responsibilities, preparing for her maternity leave. In June, exactly 1 year after their wedding, Emily gave birth to a healthy baby girl. They named her Hope Sarah Romano, hope for the future Emily and Dominic had built together, Sarah to honor Dominic's first wife. Holding Hope in the hospital, surrounded by Dominic and Aisha, Emily felt overwhelming gratitude. This tiny life represented everything she and Dominic had created. Love born from trust, family built on respect, and hope that persisted through all challenges. "She's perfect," Dominic said, tears rolling down his face. "Just perfect." "Just like her mother?" Emily teased. "Exactly like her mother," Dominic agreed seriously. They brought Hope home to the estate, settling into the rhythm of new parenthood. It was exhausting and wonderful, challenging and magical. Emily took 3 months of maternity leave, spending that time bonding with her daughter and adjusting to their new family dynamic. Dominic proved to be an attentive and loving father, despite his initial fears. He told Hope stories about both Sarah and Emily, making sure she would grow up knowing about the important women in her father's life. When Emily returned to work part-time, she brought Hope to the office occasionally. Employees loved seeing the baby, and Emily became a symbol of work-life balance within the company. "You're showing people it's possible," her assistant director told her. "To have a career and a family, to be successful and present. That matters." By Hope's first birthday, Emily had been promoted again, this time to Chief Operating Officer, the second highest position in the company. She managed the entire operations division, overseeing thousands of employees and millions of dollars in logistics. At the board meeting announcing her promotion, the chairman said, "Ms. Romano has proven herself to be one of the most effective executives in our company's history. Her innovations have increased profitability by 30% while simultaneously improving working conditions and employee satisfaction. She represents everything this company values: intelligence, integrity, and a commitment to excellence." The board voted unanimously to approve her promotion and compensation package. That evening, Emily and Dominic celebrated with a quiet dinner at home, Hope asleep upstairs. "Remember that night at Tony's diner?" Emily asked, sipping her wine. "Every detail," Dominic said. "You leaning close to whisper the warning. The fear in your eyes mixed with determination. The moment I realized you were someone special." "I was so scared," Emily admitted. "Scared I was wrong, scared you'd think I was crazy, scared those men would hurt you anyway. But you spoke up despite the fear," Dominic said. "That's what courage is. Not the absence of fear, but acting despite it." Emily thought about all the times she had been scared since then. Going undercover at the warehouse, confronting Trevor, setting the trap for Marcus, testifying in court. Each time she had felt fear. And each time she had acted anyway. "I learned that from raising Aisha," Emily said. "I was terrified most of those years. Terrified I'd fail her, that we'd end up homeless, that I wasn't enough. But I kept going because she needed me. Fear doesn't mean you can't succeed. It just means you care about the outcome." "That's beautiful," Dominic said. "And true." 2 years later, they welcomed a son, Daniel Marcus Romano. The middle name honored both the uncle Dominic had lost and the lesson about choosing forgiveness over bitterness. Marcus had shown remorse in prison, and while Dominic couldn't fully forgive, he could acknowledge that people were complex and capable of growth. By the time Daniel was born, Emily had been COO for 2 years and was being courted by headhunters for CEO positions at other companies. She declined all offers. Romano Logistics was where she belonged, working alongside Dominic to build something meaningful. When Hope was 5 and Daniel was 3, the family attended the company's 25th anniversary celebration. It was a massive event. Hundreds of employees, clients, and industry leaders gathered to celebrate Romano Logistics' success. Emily gave a speech about the company's culture and values. She talked about opportunity, trust, and the importance of seeing potential in unexpected places. 25 years ago, Dominic Romano started this company with a vision: to create a business that treated people with dignity while delivering excellence, Emily said to the assembled crowd. That vision continues today. We succeed not despite caring about our employees, but because we care about them. When you give people opportunity and respect, they give you their best work and loyalty in return. The audience applauded. After the speech, dozens of employees approached Emily to thank her for creating a workplace where they felt valued. One young man who had started in the warehouse and was now a regional manager said, "You showed me that where you start doesn't determine where you finish. I grew up poor like you. No college degree like you. But you proved that intelligence and hard work matter more than credentials. Thank you for that example." Emily hugged him, blinking back tears. "You did the work. I just opened the door. Be proud of yourself." That night, lying in bed beside Dominic while their children slept peacefully down the hall, Emily reflected on her journey. From a scared teenager caring for her sister, to an exhausted waitress working multiple jobs, to a woman who had found her purpose and built a beautiful life. "What are you thinking about?" Dominic asked, sensing she was awake. "Just how grateful I am," Emily said. "For everything. This life, our family, the work we do. Sometimes I can't believe it's real." "It's real," Dominic assured her. "And you earned every bit of it. Never forget that, Emily. You created this life through courage, intelligence, and determination." "We created it together," Emily corrected. "You saw something in me I couldn't see in myself. You gave me opportunity and trust. We built this together." "Partners?" Dominic agreed, pulling her close. "Partners?" Emily echoed. As she drifted off to sleep, Emily thought about that night at Tony's diner one more time. The rain, the danger, the split-second decision to speak up. That moment of courage had been the first step on a path she never could have imagined. She had warned a stranger about waiting danger. In return, that stranger had shown her a life beyond survival, a life of purpose, love, and meaningful work. Kindness had led to opportunity. Opportunity had led to growth. Growth had led to love. And love had led to this: a family, a career, a future full of hope. Emily had spent her whole life being invisible, overlooked, dismissed. But she had never been invisible to the people who mattered. Aisha had always seen her sister's strength. Dominic had recognized her value immediately. And now hundreds of employees looked to her as a leader and example. The waitress who whispered a warning had become a woman who changed lives, including her own. And that transformation, built on courage and trust and the willingness to take risks, was the real happy ending. Not because life was perfect or easy, but because Emily had discovered her own worth and built a life that honored it. She had proven that where you start doesn't determine where you finish. That potential exists in unexpected places. That kindness and courage can change everything. These lessons would guide her for the rest of her life. And she would pass them on to Hope and Daniel, teaching them that opportunity is something you create through bravery and hard work, that love is something you build through trust and partnership, and that happiness is something you earn by refusing to let fear or doubt stop you from becoming who you're meant to be. Emily Carter Romano had traveled an unlikely path from poverty to prosperity, from invisibility to influence, from loneliness to love. And she had done it by staying true to herself, observant, brave, and always willing to act when action was needed. That was her story. That was her triumph. And that was the legacy she would leave behind. Proof that anyone, regardless of their background, can achieve extraordinary things if they're brave enough to try.